I talked to the CEO of Douglas Elliman about what makes housing costs soar. In the city with the tallest buildings in the country, the rent is sky high.
Oh boy, I think the studio now with a full service building is probably about $3,400 for one room, and it goes up from there.
Despite pressures from the pandemic and those still working from home, affording an apartment keeps on getting more difficult. And the CEO of Douglas Elliman, Scott Durkin, says it's not just in New York.
We have 128 offices. It's everywhere, every region we cover. And on our average price is $1.6 million at Douglas Elliman. It's everywhere in every one of our markets.
The firm's rent index is now down slightly from record highs over the summer. That's welcome for the Federal Reserve, which has hiked interest rates specifically to slow down rising prices. Higher shelter costs, as the economists call them, has been one of the major contributors to inflation over the past year. And Durkin says it won't be a fast fall. Are prices coming down in New York?
Well, usually they do when this happens. However, coupled with the inventory shortage, prices have stayed level, and we see very little negotiation.
Is it because interest rates at 7% now have put off prospective buyers or people who want to trade up?
Absolutely. Even though you may want something else, you're not moving because it just doesn't make any sense.
So what happens? Because clearly the discrepancy between rents and incomes in New York is now almost at its widest.
Yeah.
So what happens? Well,
people do shares. They get roommates. They get married. Two incomes. Somehow they make ends meet, or they downsize and they can live in a studio.
Peter Fisher knows this all too well. He lives on the 5th floor in a building in New York City's West Village. He pays $4,100 a month for a 400 square foot apartment. The building has no elevator.
This is the apartment. You can see it's pretty much just one room and then the bedroom. So this is the living room, dining area, and kitchen. Usually just kind of like eat on the couch.
And Peter says finding a new place could be even more expensive.
The market moves really quickly here, and because moving apartments is expensive, it's time consuming, and it's pretty competitive. So I just stuck in this one apartment for several years because usually you go outside and you tour an apartment and there's 20 people lined up around the block and maybe somebody already has a deposit down. So it's pretty difficult to find a spot unless you really have your ducks in a row and you're willing to dump a lot of cash.
Housing inflation is one of the slowest components to change, and therefore one of the most difficult to fight. Now, other companies and researchers say inflation is likely to come down in the coming year. The hope, of course, is it won't take the economy down with it as it falls.